Good morning. It's 10:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is July 16, 2025. Good morning, America. This is your correspondent, Pavi LG, with War Notes, broadcasting live on this explosive Wednesday, July 16, 2025. Indeed, it is. Today, we are witnessing what may be the beginning of the end for Donald Trump's stranglehold on the Republican Party. In a stunning development that has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, House Speaker Mike Johnson has publicly broken with President Trump over the Epstein files controversy. And folks, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing unfold what is unfolding exactly what I predicted would happen over a year ago. I told you then that the Republican Party would eventually self-destruct from within. And today, that prophecy is coming to pass. The man who was once Trump's most loyal lieutenant, the Speaker of the House himself, has just driven a dagger straight through the heart of the Trump presidency. Yesterday, in a bombshell interview with right-wing podcaster Benny Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson called for the full release of the Epstein files, directly contradicting the Trump administration's decision to keep them sealed. This isn't just a policy disagreement, folks. This is a political mutiny at the highest levels of government. Johnson told the podcast audience that he favors transparency and that Attorney General Pam Bondi needs to explain her previous remarks about the Epstein case. These are fighting words from a man who has spent the last year rubber stamping every single one of Trump's decisions. The fact that he's breaking ranks now tells you everything you need to know about the president's weakening grip on his own party. But Johnson isn't alone in this revolt. Intelligence sources report that a growing number of Republicans are privately expressing frustration with Trump's handling of the Epstein files. And yes, my co-host is with me, my son in the background. The MAGA base, Trump's core supporters, are in open rebellion. At a conservative conference in Tampa this weekend, the fury was on full display, with calls to fire Attorney General Pam Bondi dominating the proceedings. The president's own supporters are turning against him, and Trump's response has been nothing short of catastrophic. He's told his MAGA faithful not to waste time on the Epstein files, essentially dismissing the concerns of the very people. Sorry, you guys, got my co-host here. The very people who put him in office. This is political suicide, and Trump is holding the smoking gun. The timing of Johnson's betrayal couldn't be more significant. The speaker knows his majority is razor thin and in danger. He's watching the polls, he's reading the tea leaves, and he's making calculated decision to distance himself from a sinking ship. Johnson is positioning himself as the reasonable voice in the Republican Party, the man who could lead them out of the Trump wilderness. Meanwhile, Democrats are seizing on the Republican Civil War like sharks smelling blood in the water. They're forcing votes on the House floor to release the Epstein files, knowing full well that it will deepen the divisions within the GOP, while Congressman Ro Khanna has introduced amendments to force the release. And House Democrats are using every parliamentary trick in the book to keep this issue front and center. The media is having a field day with this story, and rightfully so. This is the kind of political drama that defines presidencies and destroys parties. The headlines are writing themselves. Johnson stabs Trump, end quote. GOP civil war erupts. Republican revolt. This is political theater at its finest, you guys, and Trump is playing the role of the tragic hero whose hubris leads to his downfall. Sources close to the White House described the president as furious, quote, furious with Johnson's betrayal. Trump reportedly feels that Johnson owes him loyalty, having supported him for speaker. But loyalty is a two-way street, man, and Trump's dismissive attitude toward his own base has created a vacuum that ambitious Republicans like Johnson are all too eager to fill. The implications of this break extend far beyond the Epstein files. If Johnson is willing to defy Trump on this issue, what other policies will he change? Will he support Trump's immigration policy, his foreign policy initiatives, his economic agenda? The president can't no longer count on the automatic support of his own party's leadership in Congress. It's getting good, you guys. It's getting good. Political analysts are calling this the beginning of the post-Trump era in Republican politics. They are comparing it to the moment when Republican leaders finally turned on Richard Nixon during Watergate. The pattern is remarkably similar. A president who believes he's above accountability, a party that initially supports him, and then a gradual erosion of confidence that leads to complete political isolation. The electoral implications are staggering. If the Republican Party is fighting a civil war, how can they possibly present a united front to voters? How can they win elections when their own speakers publicly contradicting their president? The Democratic Party must be celebrating tonight, knowing that their opponents are tearing themselves apart. This is how political dynasties end, folks. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Not through external enemies, but through internal betrayal. The Roman Empire fell because it became too corrupt to govern effectively. The same thing is happening to Trump and its political machine right before our eyes. I predicted this moment over a year ago, and I'm predicting what comes next. More Republicans will follow Johnson's lead. They'll distance themselves from Trump, positioning themselves as the reasonable alternatives. The MAGA base will then splinter, some supporting Trump to the bitter end, others gravitating toward new leaders who promise to fulfill Trump's promises without Trump's baggage. Indeed. Now, today's marks a turning point in American politics. The Republican Party, as we know, it is dying, and Mike Johnson just administered the fatal blow. The question isn't whether Trump will survive this revolt. He won't. The question is whether the Republican Party will survive the civil war that's about to consume it. Now, for my listeners who have been following this story, you know, I've been warning about this moment for months. The Republican Party's foundation was built on sand. And tonight, that sand is shifting, ladies and gentlemen, beneath their feet. What we're witnessing is the natural consequence of a party that's put personality over principle, loyalty over truth, and power over accountability. As we go to the air today, the political landscape is fundamentally different than it was yesterday. Mike Johnson's betrayal of Trump over the Epstein files has opened the floodgates. Other Republicans will follow, and when they do, the Trump presidency will be effectively over, even if he remains in office. Now, this has been your correspondent with War Notes, Pavi G, bringing you the explosive developments that are reshaping American politics. The Republican Civil War has begun, and Mike Johnson has fired the first shot. The party that once seemed invincible is now eating itself alive, and we're all witnesses to this political cannibalism. And to all my listeners who have been following this journey with me, remember this moment. Remember that you have heard it here first, that we predicted this collapse when others were still singing Trump's praises. The Republican Party is crumbling from within, exactly as we said it would. And the fiesta has just begun. From all of us here at War Notes, this is your correspondent, Pavi G, signing off. Keep watching, keep listening, and keep remembering that in politics, as in life, what goes up most must eventually come down. And the Trump era is ending, and it's ending with the very betrayal that defines all political tragedies. Have a good day, you all. Thank you. I'll go ahead and tend to my co-host now, my baby in the background.